did you start to turn the corner and maybe give Chris Greer the benefit of the doubt when the Dolphins were beating all of these schmink teams? If you looked at the list of quarterbacks that they defeated during that stretch, it was all backups.
Yes.
It was guys that hadn't even made the practice squad in the preseason that got re-signed.
Yep.
I think even some of these guys might have played for the Heat. Nick Wallenda, unbelievable. What was his latest that he was like walking across two buildings in New York City, which would be much more dangerous if you were on the ground, if you look at what's going on in New York City, would it not? Would you rather be on a tightrope crossing, say, Madison Avenue? Of course, no matter how treacherous, no matter how windy. That still is one of my visions that I will never be able to erase when Osteen was making out with Nick Wallenda's wife while he was saying, "Pray for me, Joel." And he's sitting on the side of the canyon there going, "I don't think you're going to make it back, Nick. You know, the Lord has chosen a path for you, and it's not necessarily a favorable one right now in terms of crossing the canyon."
The time.
Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
On a beautiful Monday here where we originate from in South Florida on Ion Channel, it's the Defo Show. I'm Jeff Deforrest, and he is Mike Lubitz, and here's where we try to make ourselves look a lot smarter because we now know what the results of the Super Bowl, the championship game in the National Football League, turned out to be, as the Los Angeles Rams, a win, no cover. A win, no cover. That fourth point turned out to be monumental. A missed extra point is usually the kind of thing that sends people scrambling for various forms of inebriants and ways to somehow find a way to fight the anxiety, dilaudid drip notwithstanding. And so that missed extra point came back to haunt the backers of the Rams, many of whom were convinced that the Rams would win this thing in a runaway. And 23-20, the final, the LA Rams, the champions of the National Football League. It turned out to be a sensational playoff session, though. I don't think anybody could complain about the entertainment quotient that they got. And this turned out to be a very compelling game to watch. It wasn't the kind of offensive fireworks that you usually would like to see, especially when you had the Rams. They lost Odell Beckham, and they really bogged down after that point. Yes, Mike Lubitz with us. Lubie, how are you? You came out, you were convinced the Rams would win. I don't know how you felt about the point spread. I think various experts and analysts that we had on the show also had me moving in the direction of favoring the Rams in the game, although you always have to consider it very tentative and treacherous turf to traverse if you're talking about laying 4 points, especially the way all of these playoff games shook out. And Joe Burrow had many opportunities to put Cincinnati back into the mix, including the final drive. And a couple of short yardage plays turned out to be very questionable, pointing a finger at Zach Taylor and his playoff inexperience, although he did go for that wild razzle-dazzle play that resulted in a touchdown in a spot where it looked like he would be okay just running the football into the middle of the line of scrimmage. And what was interesting, too, the Bengals were able to move the ball with Mixon, and yet they gave the ball on a couple of critical short yardage plays, 3rd and 1s, to another back, and Mixon was like getting 5 yards a crack every time he touched the football. Yep. So it seemed kind of odd to shake that up. And so a lot of people are looking at Zach Taylor and saying that maybe in the big moment, as Tony Segreto would say, might have had a little bit of the choke collar on in terms of play calling. But nonetheless, very entertaining game. The Bengals got about as much mileage as you could possibly expect out of their Cinderella run, with the possible exception of winning the game. It did seem like they might march it down the field there, had enough time and enough timeouts left to go ahead and at least send the game into overtime. It was interesting, Chris Collinsworth's declaration that, they don't care about getting a field goal here. They're in it to win it. I'm like, Chris, give me a freaking break, man. Let's face it, with a minute and change to go in a ball game, you don't think they're going to be happy getting a field goal and sending that thing in overtime? Of course they are. So they came within an eyelash of that, right? The game ended up around the 50-yard line with Cincinnati in possession of the ball, and they failed on a 3rd and short, came back on a 4th and short, tried to pass the ball, and, of course, there was Aaron Donald gobbling up Joe Burrow as if he was eating him for breakfast, my friend.
I mean, they had 7 sacks, the Rams. They tied a Super Bowl record. Like
6 in the second half, yeah.
It's magical that they almost won the Bengals. Like, people don't realize, like, that should be impossible for him to get eaten up like that and then still have a lead with, 4 minutes left?
Well, the Rams had a mad penchant to go ahead and put themselves in, very compromising situations. And wow, I mean, after starting out like a house of fire, it looked like it was going to be a runaway. They really went dead flat on offense from that point on, and were able to generate virtually nothing until, of course, late in the game. They ended up in the fourth quarter. Getting the did they get the third quarter field goal or the fourth quarter? But they were down and
In the third,
got to 20-16, and you thought, well, you can see how this thing is going to go. Somehow the Rams are going to take the lead, and we'll see if Cincinnati can respond. And a hell of a drive there by Matthew Stafford. You would have to say that they were far better off with Stafford in that spot than they would have been with Jared Goff. He did have 2 interceptions in the game. I guess they were forgivable, as he slightly underthrew a guy who happened to have half a step in the corner of the end zone, but it would have had to have been just an absolute perfect pass, and it wasn't. So that was picked off near the end of the half and prevented a scoring opportunity. And then, this is the kind of thing. Did it happen to anybody else out there? Where we were at a bar up the street here, Stingers, on A1A. Of course, Dave B's great place. I had a party going on in one room, and we had a nice little setup in the other. And so you have to debate, do you leave right after the first half is concluded, the actual play on the field, and figure I only live 5 minutes from the place, shoot home and watch the halftime show, which I really wanted to see this one. I don't know how you felt about it, but I was curious to see just how it would go. And maybe, I mean, how great would it have been if Snoop Dogg just did his thing, and after telling everybody, don't worry about a thing, man, there'll be no N-word, there'll be no cursing, there'll be no demeaning of women. And then went right to it as soon as he got there with, you would have had Roger Goodell strangling Russell Wilson, who was sitting next to him at the game. As you think he paid Wilson to sit next to him? Look at that. See, I'm sitting with a black guy. I don't know that entered his mind. Goodell seems like a guy that would be likable, doesn't he? Like, he comes off, I mean, he comes off as like somewhat of a distinguished gentleman, and yet the policies of the National Football League obviously are in a, state of chaos and disarray because they don't know which direction to turn in to try and fix a problem that they could easily fix themselves by having 32 owners get together and say, you know what, let's hire some black head coaches. Next time you have a choice to make between some guy that's totally unproven, that's never been a head coach before, and a guy that has a similar track record, let's just go ahead and do it till we equalize this thing out. No? So do I sound like Joe Biden trying to appoint a Supreme Court member? When a black Asian woman who's also part Jewish. Okay, Joe, no problem. That should be an easy find. What's going on, too? I mean, those phone calls from Joe to Putin, they don't seem to be sending any kind of resounding message, do they?
No, he doesn't care.
The guy's got like 8 million troops at the border there, and Joe's calling him, going, hey, what are you doing, Vlad? You thinking about invading? Nah, we just happen to park these vehicles there at the border of the Ukraine. Okay, I mean, how does he not know what the hell is going on there? How do you handle that with like kid gloves? You're either going to do something about it or not, right? If you're the allied nations that are appalled by the whole notion of Russia invading the Ukraine. But every day you see like another story on this, and there's another 100,000 Russian troops sitting out there. What are they doing? Playing, ping pong?
Yeah,
While they're sitting there at the border.
chess.
They're testing missiles. They're doing this. They're like, hey, you guys invade, man. It's going to be big trouble. Right? Go ahead. You do that. I'll tell you what. You know how those threats go.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, it looks pretty clear to me that the guy is, going to go ahead any minute now and just right through the doors. All right. How did you make out on your bets? So we did call one. We were all right on one thing.
Yes,
Mike Lubitz.
Yes.
We pointed out that prop bet, and I blew it. I got sucked in by the professor. His dissertation the other day on the over-under on the anthem. Now, it was a very short anthem framework that you had to work with, a minute 35 seconds, and that went up from a minute 30, which I thought there's no way that somebody's going to steal the stage there or take the stage at a Super Bowl game and just get off the stage in like a minute and 30 seconds. You just don't do that. And then you pointed out, right, that they brought an orchestra out.
Once you bring the choir around, I'm like, whatever research Ken did, and his research was extensive and did a great job. I'm like,
yeah,
you haven't mentioned a choir. I'm like, okay, so she's already going off script from the 3 performances she did before.
Yes.
She's leaning into this.
She went into that fa la 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 la. It's like, just sing the song, woman.
Like,
Just
no,
sing the song.
doing-
So I parlayed it. Leave it to me to mess it up, right? A
no,
short
just
thing.
really parlay it.
I parlayed the under on the anthem. This was my bet on the Super Bowl. It's kind of all I had. I think I had like $30 with my buddy Francesco
That's a nice
on the
parlay.
game, which he ended up having his first winning season in the 5 years that I've been booking his action as a result of that. But nonetheless, I parlayed. I think it was a $60 parlay. The under on the anthem to the first time out being called by Sean McVay, which we were all over that one.
Yep.
And that was the one thing that throughout the shows that we did leading up to the Super Bowl, the entire 2 weeks, once I got wind of that about a week ago and saw the research on it and the logic behind it, and what happened, he perfectly to his MO, to
None of this
description,
going on.
McVay called a meaningless timeout in the middle of like a drive,
Yep.
which the last day, and I thought, no, that's got to be a Cincinnati timeout. You have to be kidding me.
No.
And then you hear timeout, Rams.
What was crazy
Right.
is they had two other opportunities. There was one where they were running the clock down and hit zeros for a while. I'm like, oh, and then they blew the whistle. I'm like, they must have called a timeout there. And they took the 5-yard delay of game. I'm like, they never take the delay of game. I'm
Yeah.
like, what is going on with McVay? I'm like, that's not good. I'm like, we could have got this over at like the 8-minute mark. I'm like, what is going on? Like, and
I don't think that was ever in doubt, though. I mean, that bet. You knew McVay at some point in time was going to call a timeout arbitrarily, just out of nowhere, and that's exactly what he did. I think they had moved the ball down to the 10-yard line or inside the 10, and the last thing he wanted to do was call a timeout in that spot. So sure enough, he calls a timeout.
Yeah, the clock had I remember there was like 3.5 minutes, and I don't know, they're like timeout. I'm like, oh, that's definitely the Rams, and the Rams don't even go to the sideline. They just go huddle and then run a play. I'm like, oh my god, that was great.
Now you know that McVay, I don't know, he makes like $8.5 million a year. So how much would he have to bet to be influential? In terms of his bankroll, do you think he unloaded and put like 115,000 to win 100?
Someone
Is it worth it? And then just said, okay, if and maybe even in cahoots with Taylor, right? I mean, those are the kind of bets that are very difficult to control.
No.
But we were right about that. That was the one thing that we were absolutely right about. We were right that the Rams turned out to be the better team. And I don't know that I had any great feeling, any great conviction about which way the game would go in the point spread. So Mark Lawrence, when he told us, and how about Mark Lawrence of PlaybookSports.com, been doing a dynamite job for us, handicapping games all year long. I think he had a substantial upside winning season with us. I don't know that we have the whole cumulative impact of the games that he gave us.
I have him since us, and it tapered down a little bit. When he was on with us in the radio before things,
he was on fire.
He was killing it.
Killing it. Yeah. So I know he had a big upside season betting dogs all year long. And you thought, how can he possibly give out the Rams in this position? Brandon Lang, on our Believe podcast, outstanding handicapper who had a 25-4 record, documented record, 25-4 with his publicized Super Bowl selections against the point spread. You're thinking, this guy, and he's not one of these guys that has any steadfast rule that I'll never bet a favorite. Whereas Lawrence has never given out a favorite, has never laid points in any selection that he's ever made, college or pros, on the show, which is pretty remarkable if you think about it. I mean, every now and then you look at a line and you say, my God, this team should be favored by far more than that. And I don't know that anybody really thought that. Brandon Lang was pretty convinced that the Rams would blow out the Cincinnati Bengals in this game, that the differential offensive line to defensive line, Rams defense to the Bengals offensive line, what was so, I mean, it couldn't have been any more of a divide. And he thought that would be the key factor in the game. Maybe it was later on because the Bengals really didn't do much after they got to 20. And 6 of the 7 sacks occurred in the second half.
Yeah, Aaron Donald woke up. The first half, they had Aaron Donald in check. And the second half, Aaron Donald was a man on a mission. That last play was purely, I'm winning the Super Bowl. Sorry, Joe.
I like the way, if they put one guy on the block, he just literally pushes the guy right back into the quarterback and then takes off the quarterback's head. I mean, it's insane, Aaron Donald. But when they try to block him with less than 3 guys, he was very effective. And then, of course, when they were double and triple teaming Aaron Donald, they figured out a way, Sean McVay, or whoever the defensive coordinator is for the Rams, figured out a way to use some kind of inside stunt with Von Miller. And they started going with some different techniques, and they were slipping guys to the inside pretty easily. and putting a lot of pressure on Joe Burrow. And they also had to be doing a decent job in the secondary because there were times where Burrow just went down in a heap, but probably had enough time to deliver a quick pass. If they had gone Ryan Tannehill on this and told him to release the ball within half a second because he was about to get creamed, those days when Tannehill was with the Dolphins. Well, I mean, they do it right now. We see this offense all the time. What works against a Rams defense, what you would have to do is be very efficient with Tua Tagovailoa going back like a half a step and then firing the ball to a back. That's about it.
In the first half, it was working. Like they kept commenting that they're getting rid of the ball so fast, it's frustrating Donald. The second half, it didn't. I guess they started playing press man, which made it harder for him to do that. It took a little bit longer for guys to get open, which is what they should have done in the first half. And I don't know why they didn't do that. And it allowed the defensive line to get to him, and they got to him.
Overall, though, a very successful NFL season.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to miss having football to watch on Sundays. It was kind of a little bit of a absence of something to get excited about a week ago after those conference championship games played out, and Super Bowl Sunday did not disappoint. I would have to say,
it's your game. I mean,
nothing better too than punching horses all day before the Super Bowl. Turned it into it was as if I was in Las Vegas. Punching horses all up until post time for the Super Bowl, and stepped into that little party that we went to and caught the first half. But I don't know that I really got a clear picture of what was going on there in the halftime show. It looked to be very well conducted. I mean, it seemed like it was choreographed very well. The entire thing well produced. They did a good job of featuring everybody. When Eminem came on, everybody got excited there, right? When he did his little thing.
Yep.
There was, there's a natural instinct, and they must have really had this in their head. You know how sometimes, you can use whatever language you want on this show here in the format that we're in, but I don't necessarily want it to be just like a Joe Pesci diatribe, where you're cursing every couple of seconds, and always had to have that editor in your head because there were many things that you couldn't say in terrestrial radio.
Yep.
But do you think there's a natural instinct to say, who gives a, and the natural thing that follows that is a word that rhymes with duck, right? But is there a natural subliminal instinct for all rappers to grab their crotch? Because it seemed like, did it not seem like, they're ready to make the move, the typical move, and about to grab their crotch and start rubbing their balls. And then something told them, the voice in your head says, no, don't do that. Even though, did you notice that though? I mean, almost every guy, when they make those gestures, all of a sudden they're grabbing their crotch. And Goodell was probably, did he have to wear a blindfold during the halftime show, or was he sitting there with his arm around Jay-Z? Nice job, Jay-Z. He is the ambassador of entertainment and love for the league here. Don't worry, we're going to come on. Coming out of this thing okay with Brian Flores. I didn't see Flores at the game. Did you? Everybody else was there. LeBron was there. J-Lo. Ben Affleck was there. Matt Damon. I mean, just about anybody you could think of. I mean, if you were even on the C list of stars in Los Angeles, you were looking to be cited at the Super Bowl game and somehow maybe get a camera to zero in on your face in the crowd. But no, a good time all the way through. I mean, I don't think anybody could complain about the way the game was conducted in terms of the play on the field. Very exciting, had drama right up until the end. And probably in the long run, you would have to say, dare I say it, the deserving better team with more stars won. Cooper Kupp, by the way, that was a pretty good payoff. Cooper Kupp, I think he was plus 750 to be the MVP. Nice. Was it that low or was it higher than that?
I don't know.
750 to 1. So if you put 100 on Cooper Kupp to be the game MVP, how great did you feel during that last drive when he looked like Chuck Mersine in the ice ball and was making every play, every advance down the field? It was Cooper Kupp, Cooper Kupp, Cooper Kupp.
Yep.
It's fantastic. Great player. That doesn't look like much, huh? I mean, when you look at Cooper Kupp, he's not an overwhelmingly imposing figure, is he?
Nope.
Very humble guy. I mean, he didn't even know what to say when he was named the most valuable player. He was rendered speechless. And, some of those interviews after the game, though, a little bit ponderous. I felt is that Michelle Tafoya's swan song with NBC? Yeah. I believe it is.
She's done. Yeah, she's done.
Been on the sideline long time as a sideline reporter on games.
I think it's Al Michaels, too. I think Al Michaels is done. With NBC, at least. He may.
I believe so. Oh, yeah. No, Tirico. Are you kidding me? Tirico may as well have just pushed him right off the top of SoFi Stadium and into that little moat that they have around the stadium there. Is it a moat?
Maybe.
Nice little body of water. Stan Kroenke, he didn't mention the $750 million that he had to pay to St. Louis to get the hell out of there. Did he? They made no mention of that. How much money does this guy have? What the hell did Stan Kroenke do to make money? Was he in the inheritance business? My favorite business? The inheritance business? Thanks, Ma. Wow. Didn't know my mom and dad had any money. I really didn't. But no, it certainly helps in times of crises. All of a sudden have a windfall of cash. But how did Stan Kroenke? I used to know. I had looked it up at some point in time. But how did Stan Kroenke make this money where he has so much money? Is he the only NFL owner that actually built his own stadium? And supposedly that's the case. The city of Los Angeles can't have any money. Hell, the L.A. River has been dry for 50 years. Not even an ounce of water in there, huh? Plus, they spent every resource that they had, public resource. They're probably still paying off for the OJ trial. And you would have to think somewhat special treatment that they involved in that investigation. No? Hey, is Furman around? Yeah, send that Nazi out there. We'll have him investigate this thing. Come on, Mark. Find a way to screw this up. Unbelievable. He supposedly built this stadium with his own money. There has to be some kind of involvement of the municipality.
He got into real estate early, and then he opened a sports and entertainment company.
What sports and entertainment company is generating enough money to own an NFL team as just like an afterthought? Real estate, I can understand it.
Shopping centers in the 70s and 80s, and he put them near Walmarts, and he banked. And then that's where he made his money, and then he went into owning sport. He owns 4 sports. He owns the Arsenal, he owns the Nuggets, he owns the Avalanche, and he owns the Rams.
He owns the Colorado Avalanche too, Stan Kroenke.
Or is it Ann Walton, who he's married to? Because league rules, you're not supposed to own multiple franchises and multiple sports. So he's got to
really put it in the wife's portfolio.
Very nice. Holding company, and I guess it's in her name, so it's not in his name officially. Yeah, but real estate, and he's been in real estate for years. That's where he got the majority of his money.
Do you think all the owners in the league go to the Super Bowl game? There's only 32. There are only 32 owners, so 30 other owners are not involved. You think they invite everybody and they all go?
You should. They probably don't. They have billionaires. You don't have to be there.
True, but you would imagine that it'd be nice to go. And think about how small the community of NFL owners are, right? Or is, and how we think that we should be able to tell them what to do, which is even the funnier part. And of course, they have a shill representative in Roger Goodell, so he's not going against anybody. But that being said, Lubie, what one of the hot topics of conversation was around the Super Bowl? I think we got to get rid of this problem. They now are talking. I don't know how true this is. It was something I read, but the owners are saying no, not Ross. That Dan Snyder has to go. Enough already.
Oh, nice. Wow. That's fine with me. About time.
That they might want to try and figure out a way to force Dan Snyder to sell the Washington Commodores, which is a name. How did they come up with that? Commanders, not Commodores. Commanders. Commodores would have been better, wouldn't it? Right? They'd still be considered the commies. Which they are by many people anyway, right? Just ask Donald Trump. All right. Good to be with you. I hope your Super Bowl went well. Anybody has stories, feel free to share them with us on the chat line there. Where did you take in the game, Mike Lubie? Lubitz? Home on your cell phone?
Yeah, we actually did your favorite thing this weekend. We went with my sister, brother-in-law, parents, my brother, and my nephews to Disney Saturday. So, just Saturday. We only did we did one day. So
drove up there and came back the same day?
No. Friday we went up, and then Sunday came back. And
did you stay in a hotel in Disney World?
We stayed inside, but we were at the Wyndham. We weren't at some weirdo hotel. So it worked out well.
You didn't just pitch a tent outside in the parking lot?
No. And we got back by Sunday.
Winnebago, yeah.
And then we went and watched it at our house, just me and the wife at home. Quiet.
Oh, she let you use the TV for that? Or,
I watched a big TV. Look at me. I moved
Oprah wasn't on? No, very good.
So we just watched it at home. You watched it at Stingers? You see that? I'm so weird about being around a bunch of people to watch the game. It stresses me out.
I'm not that concerned about it, even though certain friends of mine have been afflicted with COVID-19, which if you have the vaccine, it doesn't seem like it's overwhelming, like you're not going to check out or anything. Although very annoying. Who wants to be sick, right?
Yeah.
Anytime.
I'm not even talking about COVID, just in life, to watch the Super Bowl. So many people are there to just bullshit. I actually want to watch the game. So it's
Oh,
hard.
I don't know. I can watch a game very casually and catch what's going on. Don't you find that after watching games your entire life? I mean, I can almost go Al DeRogatis on these games. You can kind of anticipate what's going to happen next.
Nice.
Like, I don't know why they get so excited about Tony Romo. When he got a couple of plays right, which he hasn't done since the first year there, and CBS is choking on this $18 million contract because now they have to give it to everybody, including possibly, I mean, do you buy this for a second that Sean McVay is going to retire after this Super Bowl game?
I heard
coach anymore at 36.
I never heard McVay. Who I know that he was on with ESPN with Berman and he was loving it, but I didn't hear it. I heard Donald possibly is going to retire. He told a couple people that, but I didn't hear
Sean McVay. No, this is a hot rumor. I've been reading story after story about it that he's possibly considering just stepping away from coaching. And look, I mean, he makes $8.5 million a year. So if he could make 18 being a commentator and have his life back, in terms of not necessarily having to spend the supposed 24 hours a day at the facility, right? I mean, do coaches really need to do that to organize whatever the strategy is necessary to have a winning football game, or team when you have like the top 5 stars in a game are all on your side, with the exception of what? I mean, how did the Dolphins not end up with Jamar Chase? Nothing against Jalen Waddle. I mean, he's an excellent player.
Good, he's good, but he's not Chase. Like people get so mad when I say that, and I'm like, it's not a slight on Waddle. Chase is just probably a top 3 receiver. Waddle is not that, and I don't think he's ever going to be that.
Now, did Cincinnati leapfrog the Dolphins to get this guy? How did that come about? Was there a chance?
Back. Remember they made that trade with they made the trade with either the Eagles or the Niners and went back to number 12, and then they traded again to get up to 6 because you were supposed to be able to get Chase or Kyle, the one that went
Kyle
to
Pitts.
Kyle Pitts. Ended up being he didn't even really have a good year, but Chase was great, but it was supposed to fall back because of the quarterback situation and Penei Sewell. You're supposed to still be able to get Chase, and they overplayed their hand. And Chase, the Bengals are like, look, we don't give a shit about an offensive line. We'll worry about that later.
Yeah.
We're taking Chase.
Well, I mean, I have concerns about it, but you would think that you could patch that up, although, the Dolphins and patchwork are synonymous when it comes to offensive line play. So they've never been able to solve that problem. Cincinnati, you would think, is in a position maybe plug in 1 or 2 guys, so whether they do it from the draft or free agency. And, if they were protecting Joe Burrow a little bit better, you would have to think that they would be major contenders again to go right back to the Super Bowl. No? Although we always think that. We think the teams that were in the Super Bowl this year are both coming right back next year. Correct? Kansas City is favored, by the way. Kansas City, which it's hard to see. Kansas City, did they have their shot? And now there's a little bit of a crack there.
I don't know.
In that silver lining that was, supposedly going to carry this team to Super Bowl championship after championship. Certainly you would have to consider them contenders. But are they really a team that's going to win a Super Bowl game? Would you bet them in advance at a short price to win the Super Bowl next year? The Kansas City
Bengals.
Chiefs.
I have a weird, the Bengals feel like that team that everything came together. And look, they're young, and their offensive line sucks. So all they have to do is get their offensive line to be average, which shouldn't be impossible, and they should be scary. I just have this weird feeling around them, like everything came together perfectly, and people sort of underestimated them. And now with a target on their back, I don't know. I have this weird feeling they're not going to maintain. I feel like the Bills and the Chiefs are more long-term ready to win than the Bengals to me. But that's what I've done the entire playoffs. So they proved me wrong the entire freaking playoffs. Like I thought they would lose by double digits in that game last night. The fact that they were able to hang in there. Look, OBJ getting hurt changed the game. Like Possum was frustrated by the play calling. What else was McVay? Like OBJ was balling. Like he looked like the dude with the Giants. Like if he doesn't get hurt, I think they win by three fucking touchdowns. Like once he gets hurt, he was literally their 1A. He's not even a 2. He's a 1A. So what the hell are you supposed to do? Like the Skoronek, the second interception was because he dropped a perfect pass. Like what the hell are were the Rams supposed to do with what they had after Beckham got hurt?
They really they were running in quicksand. I mean, and the fact they couldn't run the ball lick was kind of surprising to me. I didn't realize that Cincinnati, had they been that great against the run, that you couldn't gain a single positive play most throughout the ball game, right? And especially short yardage. It was abysmal at best, the effort by the Rams to run the football in that game. And as you said, compromise. Beckham was having a hell of a ball game. He looked to be uncontainable, right?
Yep.
I mean, he made Eli Apple look like the apple in the mouth of a pig. It was ugly. All right, we'll come back with more. John Kajemi's going to join us.
Yes,
Dateline
sir.
Dolphins, and much to talk about on many, many fronts as we wrap up. And we'll have John's viewpoint on the Super Bowl game and where we stand right now with the National Football League. And, of course, his synopsis on the season. That's coming up. That's brought to you by Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. We're brought to you proudly also by the great people at Hialeah Park. Yeah, hey, Frankie, I hope you had a good Super Bowl game. At least we were right about something, right, Lubie? Once I saw that thing about McVay in the first time out, I was convinced that you could bet all you want on that. And of course, I didn't. I found a way to fuck it up, right?
I was going to say, don't parlay it. Don't parlay it, just in case.
Yeah.
Because it was a really good. It's the first time everyone we've ever talked to agreed on a bet. Like everyone that I threw it to Aaron Schatz, I threw it to a couple other people. You threw it to everyone, and they're like, yeah, it's a great bet.
You would swear that McVay, when he did call that timeout, had money on it himself.
Yeah, because nothing happened.
To be convinced.
They were inside the 10. Everything was fine. And he just called a timeout, and then they went back and did a play right after. I'm like, what the fuck was the point of it?
It was like zero reason. I mean, if his guys were gassed or something, you could see it. But just out of nowhere, it seemed like he realized, wait a minute, I have 3 timeouts left. What am I doing with that? The McVay retirement talk has gathered more steam. I don't know why. I don't know him at all. I mean, just from what I've seen of him, he seems to be very enthusiastic about everything that he does, including that hot girlfriend that he's going to marry. What, some Ukrainian model that also sells luxury real estate in Beverly Hills? Could there be a better ideal? And she loves him madly, blindly. Not that he's not a bad catch, right? 36 years old, averaging $8.5 million in salary right now, and probably if he goes to Amazon for this video streaming that's going to happen next year with the Super Bowl. How come Jack didn't bid on the NFL, Jack Namer, with Ion Channel? Would that not be a nice asset for us? Right? We could be doing this stuff at like $8 zillion a year. It'd be great. But no, McVay, I mean, is going to get offered. They're trying to get Al Michaels, to sign with them and do the Amazon games, which are going to be the Thursday night games. And are they going to have more than that? Imagine that, making $10 million a year to broadcast like 8 games, Lubie. How great would that be?
Yeah, eventually they will, but right now that's not the idea.
Well, why is Troy Aikman in such hot demand? I know he's a good-looking kid. He doesn't seem to say anything that offends anybody, really. But, I mean, is he brilliant as an analyst? At least he's coherent now compared to Romo.
He's better than
set
Romo.
The standard. Yeah.
Better than Romo. He doesn't drag on about stupid shit and become annoying.
Yeah, I mean, Tony Romo, he seemed like he was on an acid trip the last game I saw him do. Wow, man, is that Jerry Garcia out there? Hope he plays some of the old original Dead stuff. All right, we're coming back with more. Hialeah Park. I love Hialeah Park and all the good people there. It's absolutely fantastic. Hialeah Park is a great entertainment destination. You're going to love it. The casino is hopping. Big jackpots being won at all times. I just saw a little... what would it be? A collage, I guess, of jackpot payouts that they had on the slot machines there at Hialeah Park. Man, 25,000 here, 18,000 there, 12,000 there. Just fantastic, right? Imagine you're in there on a Sunday afternoon, just having a good time, watching, getting ready to watch the game, and boom, there you go. You got 25 dimes in your pocket to go out and enjoy yourself and do something special. And win or lose, I mean, it's just absolutely fantastic, and it's geared for you to be a winner. Hialeah Park. The poker room is great. It's extremely well run. They brought expert people in right at the start, and they've been there for a long, long time, and they know what they're doing. You're not going to see different faces every day. Hey, where's Lou? I met him the other day. He said he was a manager. Oh, he's gone already? That happens in a lot of casinos, Lubie. Rest assured, I've seen it. But not at Hialeah Park, because they really are dedicated to making sure that the customer has and the patron has just the best possible chance, not only to win money and have a great time in that way, but to be entertained overall. After all, this is your discretionary entertainment money. Great food and drink all over the place, not at ballpark prices. Champion simulcasting room, great place to punch away. Start thinking about the Triple Crown there. I know it's the first Saturday in May, but look where we are, Louis. Middle of February, March, April, only a couple of months away. So a lot of great activity in the Champion simulcasting room on tap leading up to the Triple Crown races, and that's a great place to just sit there and enjoy yourself. As I said, there's nothing better than punching away in a great simulcasting facility and having all the accommodations that you need to have a great experience at the races. You get that at Hialeah Park. So check out the calendar of events. That's right there at hialeahpark.com. all of the dates and times of things that are extra special that happen there on a regular basis available to you. And make yourself plans to spend some of your, next couple of weeks thinking about making. If you haven't made a visit there yet, make sure you plan your first visit to beautiful Hialeah Park. All right, we're coming back with more. John Kajemi going to join us here on the show, the Defo Show on Ion Channel. Great to be here. Great to be with you. Starting another week. Peel yourself off the mat Monday. And if you're looking at me and looking at Lubie right now on the video stream, you see why Monday after the Super Bowl should be a national holiday. We're a wreck.
Yeah, I'd be very happy to sleep in today. It was a late night.
Yeah, I mean, I needed a standing 8 count. When I got up out of bed, my dog, Holly, gave me a standing 8 count. You want to keep fighting? Yeah, no, I'd be happy to do it. Very enjoyable to talk about this Super Bowl game in the NFL season. A few other things happening. The Winter Olympics still are ongoing.
Yes.
And this black woman, Jenkins, won the 500 meter. That was great. The speed skating thing, I happened to catch that somehow arbitrarily yesterday. And very inspiring. That was nice. Wow. I mean, what were the odds of that, Louie? A black woman from Ocala, Florida, winning a world ice skating event with a brilliant performance in the 500 meter sprint, which I don't think they go any shorter than that on the speed skating circuit, do they? That's like the 100-yard dash or winning the. You know what I used to really like? Did you ever watch guys do like the 60-yard indoor dash? When they had like all of these top-level sprinters going in indoor meets, they used to televise a lot of indoor track meets. How come there's no track and field channel? Because there's no interest, Lubie?
Honestly, pretty much.
I used to love it. I mean, I loved covering track and field. I did a lot of it when I was a newspaper writer in California, and I was always fascinated by, especially like the indoor mile when they ran on that 8-lap track that had the wood and the slight embankment. You ever run on one of those, Lubie?
No. No. Those look weird.
Kind of fun, yeah. And that was all strategy, too. Eamon Coughlin, the chairman of the boards, the Irishman, he would win all of those races, even though when they got outdoors, he wasn't nearly as effective because he had that little elbow that he would give you on the inside, right? He rode very aggressively. He looked like Iran Ortiz on a horse. Just absolutely fantastic, and it was great. But the 60-yard dash, there wasn't a lot of room after the finish, and these guys are working up to just phenomenal speeds, and they would end up like crashing into a pad on the wall that was like at the end of the 60-yard sprint. You ever see that? Where they all go crashing into a pad? I mean, they can't stop. There's not enough room to stop.
Yes, that I do remember, yes.
I have to give those skiers credit, too, that are in the Olympics. How the hell do they come to a complete stop like 3 feet after the finish line?
It's crazy.
They're going 80 miles an hour. Can you imagine yourself trying to do that, Lubie? Slow down!
I tried it a month ago, and it didn't go well. I literally have to slow down before because I'm scared of how to stop. I don't know how they do it.
How do they do that? They make it look so easy, too. I guess, I mean, if you're born on skis. But anyway, congratulations. I forget her first name, but Jenkins is the young lady's last name. Won that gold medal. And you know what? We're not shut out, Lubie. There are some things that we do in Winter Olympic game type of activities that we're actually good at. Did they put snowboarding in just to put the United States on the map?
100%, yes.
Any form of snowboarding? Because, it seemed like that was incorporated into the games. How much bribery money went to the IOC on that one? Listen, we got this guy to fly in tomato. He's going to win gold for us, make us look good. What's it going to take to put snowboarding in? Perhaps we could talk about some form of compromise. Yes. All right. Anything more cricket? I put that up. That's our poll question for the day. More cricket organization, the International Olympic Committee or the World Boxing Council? My all-time favorite corrupt sports organization. When it was run, now his son, I think Mauricio is his name, is running the WBC, World Boxing Council. Jose Suleiman, though, was just absolutely phenomenal. I mean, you talk about a guy that should replace Goodell as commissioner of the NFL. Jose Suleiman, where he's still alive, may he rest in peace, had the ideal of how to run a sports organization. Right up there with Sepp Blatter, right? How much, Mr. Sheik? Okay. I think we can make some arrangements. All right, we're coming back with more here on the Defo Show. Peel yourself off the mat Monday. John Kajemi going to join us. He's brought to you by Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. Curious to see what would the Jimmer have done in those situations? At Cincinnati, short yardage play calling, a little suspect. No, Lubie? I mean, it's always suspect if it doesn't work, I guess. But dives into the middle of the line, and then wow, I mean they block Aaron Donald with nobody. They give an Olay block, and he's got Joe Burrow in his grasp, and they nearly completed that pass. Did you see that?
Yeah, when he flung it, there was actually
yeah. If the guy was looking for it, the ball to be in the air, he had like a receiver in the area there. I guess was it Mixon, the running back? Somebody
I don't know.
was right there. And had he caught the ball, he would have run for significant enough yardage to put them right in field goal range. That would have been something. And think about what was hanging in the balance there, right? You don't think the under players were a little bit nervous about
Big six. I was hoping
overtime.
And go. Oh, overtime too. Overtime would have been good too.
Overtime would have done in anybody that had the under in that game, including our friend Sheldon Glass, who I believe put a ticket up where he bet $110,000 to win $100,000 on the under. Nice. Imagine that. I mean, and the one thing, you literally want to drive a stake through your heart if they go to overtime. Because that would have put the game over, right? It would have been, 23-46, so it would have had to go to 49, I think. It was either, it depends where he got it. It was fluctuating between 49 and a hook and 48 and a hook, I think. The over-under in that ball game. So, and I would have been inclined to believe that the over would have been the number, no? Which is why, whatever you originally think, go the other way. Go the other way. Cincinnati on the money line. No, that money's up in smoke. And I don't know that we ever made that recommendation. But I did think if you were going to bet Cincinnati in the game, you may as well take them to win the game instead of the 4 points. So there again, I would have advised you in a very poor fashion here, as if you were getting financial consulting straight from the grave from Bernie Madoff. So we try to influence you to go ahead and bet your money in some kind of reasonable fashion. I'm Jeff Deforrest. He's Mike Lubitz. We're coming back with more. Good to have you guys with us here on Ion Channel. It's always a pleasure to be here. And we'll come back with more in a moment. Now that. It's 7:41.
Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. You're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. Good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched. Steaks hand cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Any time of year, things can happen to your home or business, and the insurance company can be your friend, but they also can be your enemy. Horizon Public Adjusters, Justina Testa, are here for you to help this process go so much easier. 7 to 10 times more money recovered with a public adjuster than if you went on your own. If there's no recovery, there's no fee. Before you call your insurance company, call Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa at 954-809-8752.
You can't fake caring. Women can sense this immediately. You don't really care. You didn't really want to do any of this.
We now return to the Defo Show.
Welcome back to the show. Jeff Deforrest, Mike Lubitz, the Defo Show here on Ion Channel, streaming around the world, audio and video simultaneously. Also available here locally on Ethan Skolnick's 5 Reasons Sports Network. And you say that's going well, Mike Lubitz, as they pick up the show and have a pretty significant local fan base here and a bunch of loyal followers. 16,000 subscribers. So that's all good, all in this area. And so we're happy to be affiliated with those guys. And, of course, the Believe Podcast Network, which you were hot on that thing last week, Mike Lubitz. Red hot with your Radio Row coverage.
I did a lot.
As you were able to fish people out. The Mustang was asking me yesterday, hey, are you going to go back to any of these Radio Rows? And I'm thinking it's not necessarily practical. And on top of that, it's not necessarily necessary. anymore to do that. Mike Lubitz, it's the way things are going today. But it is different. You need probably more time, right?
Yes.
To make it worthwhile. I mean, to do a couple of hours on Radio Row, especially early in the morning, probably wouldn't be all that fruitful in terms of getting the kind of people that you would want on the show. But the beauty there is that if you have enough time, well, we were doing 4-hour blocks, you can get like 12, 13 people on a show. 3-4 days in a row, which and that was always a lot of fun. Different walks of life. Of the people that came on, almost everybody was convinced that the Rams would win the game.
Yes.
We did have, a lot of sentiment. I really believe it shook out this way. People were rooting for Cincinnati. Joe Burrow, nice story. That hat that he had on with that coat. I mean, that was Namath-esque, was it not? Coming in, did you see the outfit, the getup he had on? I know that's not uncommon, especially in the NBA, to have some kind of wild getup or where you go, I don't know that would look so good on me.
Westbrook.
An aging old Jew, walking around with like, a suit jacket and a pair of tailored shorts. Tailored, is a foreign word when it comes to my suspect wardrobe. But did you see? I mean, he really did. I mean, he's like the second coming of Joe Namath, is he not? Joe Burrow. Did he model his life after Namath? Was that his idol?
It feels like.
Sure. Yeah, it was great. Comes in there and played with confidence. Unfortunately, kind of schmenked out there at the end because his offensive line, which was, maligned is not the right word, correct? I mean, because maligned implies that they're being, unfortunately, considered in a negative light when in reality they're not that bad.
Yes.
Right? But they became very, very suspect as the game wore on. Interesting too. I was going to say I catch the halftime show at the location we were at, Dave B's fine place, Stingers A1A. If you're coming to South Florida and you're looking for like a beach bar with pizza and a good amount of variety of I would have to say decent food. No, Lubie, I mean, you can find some things there on the menu and go, wow, that's pretty good there, Dave B. Not bad. The pizzas are excellent.
Pizza's really good, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a 5-minute jock, so I watched the halftime show there, which I didn't really get like a great grasp for it, but like I said earlier in the program, it looked like they did a nice job of entertaining people. People in the bar, especially the younger people, were excited about that. And the old farts like me go, hey, Eminem. I remember him from 8 Mile. That was a great movie. I mean, what kind of background did this kid come from? My God, that trailer park trash lifestyle that he was living. I have to give him all the credit in the world.
Mostly that's not a biopic, but I feel like it sort of is. Like it's a little in the middle of the life he lived with because it seemed pretty natural for him to play that movie. But
the mother was a mess, right?
Yes.
He often mentioned her in his songs.
My mother was a disaster.
Yeah.
But I like the halftime show. I mean, I grew up with Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre. 50 Cent looked like he put on a little bit of weight. He looked like Andy Reid. He's been hanging out with Reid.
He looked like Ricky Hatton between fights. Or Roberto Duran. Right, where he'd blow up. Roberto, you're going to be able to make 135. The fight is Wednesday. Right? He's at a Monday press conference or whatever. I mean, the fights would have been on a Saturday, let's figure, with Roberto Duran. And he would literally be like 192 pounds trying to make the lightweight limit 3 days before the fight. Somehow miraculously by suction. With Don King having 2 feet on the scale at the weigh-in. 134 3/4, Duran. Like, what? It looks like he's 210. What are you talking about? Butterbean makes a better appearance. Anyway, it was a lot of fun. But I leave the Stingers bar there after the halftime show, and when I come back, Cincinnati's ahead. By the time I got home and turned on the TV, Cincinnati's ahead, and I'm thinking, how did that happen? And I had to go back naturally and catch the highlights. So the first play out of the kickoff in the third quarter from the 25-yard line, I mean, they have that absolute atrocity of a non-penalty call against Jalen. Well, Jalen Ramsey was the defender against T. Higgins, right?
Yes, T. Higgins, literally. That's what's funny about the backlash of this game was, yes, that last scoring drive for the Rams, they called, was it 2 or 3? penalties.
They called a couple of pass interference and holding calls, which were somewhat legit. I don't know. I mean, they let guys get away with it there.
I mean, guys have gotten away with that stuff, but it was literally like they're weird about when you grab a jersey but nothing happens. They sort of let it slide. When you grab and turn the guy's body, that's when they'll usually call it. And that's what happened. The defensive end literally turned the guy's body, took him off the route, called it, and then in the end zone, he literally tackled the guy.
Yeah.
And so it made sense to call those. I'm sorry. T. Higgins grabs Jalen Ramsey in stride. Ramsey actually, because it looked like Ramsey fell again, like he did that chase play early in the game. No, Ramsey had blanket coverage, was covering him like a monster, and Higgins grabs his face mask, which I've never seen. They usually
throws him down, and
throws him. It was like, what the hell?
It was Bruno Sammartino at the Garden against Gorilla Monsoon, man, where he goes into an airplane spin. He's got the guy, he's holding him above his head, and then throws him down on his knee, the Italian backbreaker, and then straight into a prone position on the mat. Boom, boom, boom. The ref counts him out.
And Bengals fans literally had the nerve to say, the refs gave him the game. I was like, dude, you did nothing on offense outside of that. Like, you did nothing the entire second half outside of that one play that was in the middle of the field. One of the best cover corners in the game gets his face mask flung.
How did nobody see that? You ask yourself, like, were there any other guys? It's one thing, okay, it happened if the guy's out of bounds, the official, and he's watching a play from an out of bounds perspective, and then how is there not somebody in the middle of the field that caught that?
It was blatant.
Yeah.
Going around.
Especially you see a guy go down like that. I mean, you're thinking, okay, what happened there? And you see the guy's helmet get snatched, and he literally gets thrown to the ground, and that goes for a touchdown. So not only did they have that score, which would have put them.
That made it 20. That made it 20.
Yeah, and then I also missed Stafford. Unfortunately, a drop pass that went for a pick. And so when I got back to the game, they were in a position to go for this field goal, and next thing you know, they're sitting there in a driver's seat up a touchdown.
That's what it was. That made it 17-13.
Yeah,
13-10. That made it 17-13, and then the next pass, Stafford throws it, and it hits Skoranek in the hands, and he doesn't catch it, and then they get a pick around the 30. But
when did they get Moose Scarin on their roster? By the way, who is this guy? Wow. I mean, I know they had a tight end injured. Was it Higbee? Yeah.
And he's good. He's legit.
Good ball player. So, I mean, they were compromised a little bit, but turned out to be a really good game. Hopefully, you guys were successful in your wagers. I was in a box pool. Everybody's in some kind of bar box pool. I don't know if you got involved in that, Lubie. You're not inclined to degenerate as deeply as I do. But and this isn't my thing. I don't really care for those things. I know you can win a lot of money. There was a guy in a bar there that said he was in a $2,000 a square box pool.
Oh, Jesus.
Can you imagine? And you have 3 and 0, and you're thinking, woo-hoo-hoo, right? I'm going to score. Yeah, I mean, and actually, the very common numbers were the ones that were factors throughout the ballgame, right? You had, 13. You had, the Rams were up, 7-0, and then 10-0, 13. Whatever. And so the common numbers were there, the 3s, the 6s, the 7s. Of course, I have 2 and 8.
Oh, no.
On one pool and 9 and 9 on the other. I mean, there was an outside shot at one point that I might cash on the 9 and 9, but it would have had to involve the Bengals getting 2 field goals in addition to the one they had, and the Rams scoring and trying to atone for the 1 point that they missed on the kick with this botched, hold, and going for 2 and failing. So think about that. You were rooting for a series of miracles that not even Joel Osteen could conjure up in front of the congregation. Look at that. It's a miracle. I'm a filthy rich. I don't want to say it.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. A lot of fun, though, Super Bowl Sunday. I really enjoyed it. I hope you guys did. I don't know. Where do we go from here? That would be the question. Is there a dearth? Until when? March Madness? That would be the next thing that leads everybody to be crazed about something that they know nothing about.
I mean, NBA.
Fantastic.
The Nets and the Sixers made that trade. Maybe that'll be fun. And the Heat down here.
I think the NBA. I don't know. It's very low on the radar with me right now. I mean, I've watched some NBA action. I follow it statistically, naturally. You see the storylines. The Miami Heat somehow having a remarkable season.
Yep.
And you would have to think that that there'll be a spark there.
Yep.
with James Harden and Joel Embiid. I mean, how do you stop those two guys? And what an upgrade it would have to be, because Harden has proven that if he wants to, he can integrate himself into a broader team concept than say was in play when he was playing in Houston.
Yep.
And that guy Morey, the guy that got in a jackpot with all the NBA owners because he said something negative about China. Can you imagine?
God forbid.
He's pretty familiar with Harden. I mean, he's traded for him and he's traded him away. So, he understands James Harden's psyche, I guess, which might not be, that far away from trying to understand. I mean, you think Sigmund Freud could have figured out Kyrie Irving, Lubie?
No.
And Harden is like, one, DNA differential away from being just as whack, no? As Kyrie Irving, he doesn't say like things that make you think that he believes in aliens.
Nah, he's just lazy and he gets frustrated and he's me. That's Harden's problem. He's not like crazy.
Biggest problem was always Game 7
Oh, the
of
play.
any series where the Rockets were in a position to do something, and he bombed out in that series against the Heat many years ago when he was part of that big three with Westbrook and Kevin Durant at Oklahoma City. And they seemed to have a monster team. And I remember Mr. Sportscaster, Mr. Expert, Mr. Deforrest was saying, you know what the key to this series is going to be? James Harden, because he was a little bit of a sleeper back then, right?
Yes.
He wasn't as recognizable. Westbrook and Durant were dominating the Thunder headlines, which were remarkable that they were headlines at all because they play in freaking Oklahoma City, which is a dust bowl with tumbleweed blowing by your door as you come out of your house in the morning. Tumbleweed. On the prairie there. But, Harden, of course, he was the key to that series because he laid an egg the entire series and made it very easy for the Heat to triumph and win that championship. So, but I mean, the way he originally integrated himself into the Brooklyn Nets, last year when they played together, the so-called Nets Big Three of Durant and Kyrie Irving with James Harden, it looked great.
It was scary.
Right? You're thinking, who is this guy, man? He's Magic Johnson all of a sudden.
Yes. If he can be that guy with the Sixers, they'll vault themselves to a top 3 seed. We just don't know. Like, he's so enigmatic, James Harden.
Do you believe, I mean, I guess, maybe this is truer, if you're more competitive than I am, which these high-level athletes, what? They have to be the most competitive human beings on the planet, no?
Yeah, yep.
Do you think it really moved Odell Beckham to that level of emotional outbreak that he was on a championship team?
Probably.
I mean, he was a wreck, right?
He's faced a lot of crap. Remember, he was considered the best receiver in football to this season when he was on the Browns. People forgot he was in the league to the point where he was starring on the Super Bowl to then, I still don't understand how he hurt himself because it just looked like a regular move where he hurts his knee, can't play the second half, and his team still finds a way to win where they were struggling without him. I mean, I can see bringing you to like a place where you finally just let go.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at that going, wow, this really does mean a lot to these guys.
Yes.
Right? I mean, certain people, I don't know. I thought Joe Burrow, he comported himself very well.
Yep.
You could see he was disappointed, said after the game that he had a lousy ball game. I don't know. Was he poor in that ball game? He was all right.
Yeah, he's got sacked 7 times. Again, like what are you supposed to do? The fact that they had a chance to win that game is miraculous to me.
Telling you, if that running back, whoever was in the area there when he desperately flung the ball on that 4th down play, if he had been looking, he might have caught that ball and put him in field goal range. That's how hairy the differential was in that thing. So if you think you're overwhelmingly smart because you're on the right side or you're beating yourself up today because you got the game wrong, look how thin the margins are in all of these games. They're really becoming, NFL games are very much what NBA games used to be before they started taking 20 minutes to play the final 4 seconds of a ball game. I mean, it's every game in the playoffs, virtually outside of the couple of blowouts in the first round with the playoff expansion to include some schmink teams. But virtually every game came down to the final play.
Yeah. These playoffs were amazing.
Couldn't ask for much more. Rod should be able to sell these television rights for a considerable larger fortune than they're already going for, if you can imagine, right? With the expansion. I want Jack. Come on, put in a bid, Jack. Let's get some NFL games on the network here, Ion Channel. All right, we're happy to be here. And speaking of the NFL, we're going to dive into it even more deeply here and through the expert eyes of one of our favorite people that we were able to bring you here on the show, and that is the great John Congemi. John's appearance on the program with Dateline Dolphins. And, of course, don't get too caught up into a little narrow box saying, well, if that's all they're going to talk. No, John's all over the place, man. And who did they go to, too, on the local stations? Did you see that? When this Mike McDaniel was finally hired and the Flores thing blew up? I think they took him outside his house, like had him in the front yard. You're not fooling anybody, right? Like, and there's John Congemi. They probably just called him like at the last second, said, hey, John, we need some comments, man. We need somebody who knows what they're talking about.
Exactly.
So he's the go-to guy of all of the local stations here. John Congemi going to join us next here on the Defo Show. Brought to you by Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, mile marker 104. That's in Key Largo, and an outstanding place. We're looking forward. We'll finally solidify those plans now that the season is over, Mike Lubitz, because I know you're looking forward to it.
I'm ready, man.
And the first Italian fisherman pizza is on me. How about that?
Wonderful.
Or is that the direction that you would go in? Because I don't know. I mean, how big of a seafood guy are you?
The way they did it, I don't know who wouldn't be. That thing was amazing.
Amazing. I mean, lobster, scallops,
The whole thing.
calamari. I mean, stuff that was just caught. I mean, literally, you saw it flopping on the dock and going straight back to Dominic Congemi in the kitchen there. And the next thing you know, it's on your pizza. It's absolutely fantastic. No anchovies, though, for me, my friend. No anchovies. All right, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. Great place to hang out. Mile marker 104, the Overseas Highway. That's in Key Largo. And we'll let you know the date when we finally solidify that. That should be sometime in the next month or so, next 4 weeks. We'll get down there, and we'll do our whole show from there, and it's going to be a ball. We'll make sure that Jimmy's on the scene. And that's almost like getting, just a dynamite one-on-one sit-down interview. Even though we brought a few people on our end. But, wow, how much fun was it just sitting there shooting a breeze about football with the great Jimmy Johnson? It was fantastic, the Hall of Famer.
Amazing.
And in his relaxed setting and everything, it's not like you're in a studio there. You got, no, more makeup there, right? He's schwitzing a little bit. You don't want any of that. Want a nice, cool atmosphere. Everybody's sitting there having a good time, and that should be a lot of fun. Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, mile marker 104, Overseas Highway, Key Largo. John Congemi coming up in just a second here. It's Dateline Dolphins with John Congemi. We'll get his thoughts and his analysis on the Super Bowl game and the NFL season in just a moment on the Defo Show. Back with that in a moment. Now that.
The time.
Oh, by the way, Albert says he's got the new music coming.
Yeah.
As soon as he pays the studio time that he owes the guy for, he's going to release the tape. Talked to him yesterday. It's 8:04 on the East Coast. Poker is your game. You're covered in style. And you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Catholic Health Services is committed to care that changes as your needs do. Our full continuum of services is designed to be there throughout your care journey. If you need assistance with daily living, post-acute care following a serious health event, or additional medical care at home, we also offer skilled nursing and palliative and hospice care. Your care needs may change, but our commitment never does. Catholic Health Services, South Florida's #1 choice for post-acute and end-of-life care. Visit CatholicHealthServices.org.
Coming back with more on this week's edition of Dateline Dolphins with John Congemi. Always a lot of fun having John on the show. Marino, did he ever honor one of those running play calls that Shula would send in?
No, that was the one when he just waved at the sideline. Was disgusting. I got it.
Yeah. There's going to be
There's
some
no
kind of
way,
audible
Brian.
call. Yeah.
No way.
86 to play. That was the call.
The modern day odd couple, Defo and Lubie, are on now. It is, of course, the Defo Show.
Welcome back to the show. Peel yourself off the mat Monday. Should be a national holiday today because the only one that looks good is John Kajemi. I don't know how he does it, but he always looks good. Welcome back to the show here on Ion Channel. Jeff Deforrest, Mike Lubie, Lubitz. We welcome in. Brought to you by Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. Mile marker 104 in Key Largo. The great one himself, Mr. John Kajemi, who played football at an excellent level at a variety of different platforms, including the Canadian Football League as a pro. And, of course, University of Pittsburgh, St. Thomas Aquinas High School, which probably could compete. Maybe they might be a bottom-level SEC team, no, on any given year. John, how are you, my friend?
In a good year, yes.
Good to have you on the program there. Might need to juice the microphone there just a little bit. John Kajemi with us here on Ion Channel. All right, John, I'll let you have the stage here. I mean, your thoughts. We were only right about one thing on a Super Bowl that McVay would call the first time out, and I managed to screw that up by parlaying that to the under on the anthem, which I thought if you're going to play the game, go for the bizarre, because everybody seemed to want Cincinnati to win. Everybody thought the Rams were going to win. The 4 points turned out to be a huge difference because of the missed extra point, and that would have been wild too if the entire universe pushed on the ball game, but. What did you think about the way the game was contested, and what were some of the key ingredients in that one for you?
Well, I thought it was a great game, number one, because of the quarterback play early in the game. Coming down to a last drive scenario, it seemed like every game in the playoffs and including the Super Bowl, it was going to be a 3-point game. So for a fan, you couldn't ask for a better outcome to a football game. For me, I felt like the Rams were a better team, but the Bengals were going to find a way to win. It just felt like that was the type of game you were going to get, and that's what you got for the better part of 60 minutes. I mean, the Bengals come out and they score on the first offensive play of the third quarter, and you go, here goes the implosion by the Rams, and here comes the Bengals, and they're going to take over the game. Well, they tried to, but the Rams defensive front didn't let that happen. The coverage didn't let that happen. Third down was abysmal for Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. I think they converted 3 of 14 or something like that. They couldn't get it going. And then the 7 sacks compounded, staying on the field. It was 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. And the Rams just needed one drive. They kept it close enough that they would need just one drive to take over the game and win the game, and that's the scenario that played out.
Hindsight, of course, always the best when it comes to analysis. I always love the post-race handicappers at the track. I told you the 3 was going to win, man. I told you this horse was a cinch. It's like, yeah, win. When they crossed the wire and he was in front by 6, what, are you kidding me? But people are questioning, at least what questions I saw, some of the things that I was reading online this morning before the show. Zach Taylor's play calling, especially in short yardage situations. I don't know, what was the guy's name, Steeple or something, the running back, but instead of giving the ball to Morris, who seemed to be, or Mixon, who seemed to be, I keep wanting to put Joe Morris in this game.
He might have helped.
Yeah, but Mixon was successful. I think he was averaging 5 yards a crack.
Yes,
and a couple of key short yardage spots. They gave the ball to somebody else, which seemed a little odd. People are pointing a finger at Zach Taylor and saying there might have been a failure on the part of his coaching philosophies there. What did you think about that aspect of things?
Well, hey, if you have Joe Mixon, you're going to give it to him in a short yardage situation, right? But I think it was more about the Rams defense. They controlled the line of scrimmage. I mean, when you have you had some guys on the Bengals offensive line that were suspect going in anyway. And you weren't going to be able to move those guys off the spot that consistently, especially on 3rd and short when the Rams are committing an extra guy or two to the front, to the defensive front. So it was tough to pick up a hat on a hat, man on a man, and move them to get enough crease in the running game. I think it was at some aspects on 1st and 2nd down where Joe Burrow had to hold the football and they got into 3rd and they're 2nd and medium for, they lose yards on 1st down and they didn't put themselves in a position where they had any momentum. And then when they did get 3rd and short, you could say play calling, you could say personnel, but you can also say execution. You can only call the plays and execute the plays at a better level to be able to get that yard or two or complete that pass or avoid the sack. I think all those things kind of play into, but to put it on just the play caller or maybe just the personnel and who you have running the football, that's probably what they practiced and repped all week. So it's just not like they get to the game, they go, let's take Mixon out of the game and use somebody else that we haven't thought about all week in that scenario.
Well, and what's interesting to me, John, is look, we watched Tua all year be one of the top 5 guys at getting rid of the football. The first half, they're getting rid of the ball real quick, and it worked. But at some point, you're going to have some more long developing routes because the Bengals aren't made to go down the field like that. Like, that's not their thing. And the Rams banked on that. And in the second half, the floodgates opened to the point where they had 7 sacks, tying Super Bowl record. To me, Burrow and the Bengals did yeoman's work. The fact that they had a lead with 4 minutes left, even though their offensive line was clearly a sieve, is almost miraculous.
It was miraculous to get to that point because you thought the Rams defense would have taken over earlier in the game. The turnovers that Stafford had, you felt like Burrow might have in the first half that was going to pad the lead for the Rams. And then you'd see Cincinnati get into throw mode and maybe come back, have Jamar Chase make a big play, have T. Higgins make a big play on the outside like he did to open up the second half. I thought the game, score-wise kind of resembled what I had in my mind. I just felt like the Rams were going to have more separation. I just thought they were the better team, had better players, had more impact players that were going to separate. Now, OBJ goes out. It kind of dents what they wanted to do because you figured they were going to double Cooper Kupp for most of the game. You'd work your other, Pro Bowl wide receiver caliber, one-on-one, third down, first down, be able to loosen up for the running game. But the Rams really never got to run the football the way they had in the playoffs, the way they did in the regular season. And I think that put more pressure on Stafford, minus one of their top receivers. That made the game more interesting and probably made the game as close as what we witnessed on Sunday.
John Kajemi going Dayland Dolphins with us here on the Defo Show on Ion Channel. Jeff Deforrest, Mike Lubie, Lubitz. It's interesting, as much as this aspect of the game is scrutinized, and Lubie correctly pointed out, a lot of Bengals fans were screaming that they were getting hosed at the end of the ball game. I mean, it's always disheartening when you see a defense come up with, a pass deflection or something, and then another part of the field, a guy grabbed a jersey, so they go ahead on what would have set up a 4th and goal and a big decision to make, or a crucial game deciding play. They instead give the other team the ball on a 1-yard line on, what could be a questionable or suspect holding call. Although I thought those calls were legit. But how on earth? I mean, my favorite move in wrestling to start a match used to be the face rake, John Kajemi.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You start out with the face rake. The guy can't see. And then you start going from rope to rope. You clothesline the guy.
Boom.
Right.
And so this T. Higgins, I mean, essentially does the football version of a face rake against his defender there, Jalen Ramsey, who, of course, does create a lot of a spotlight on him no matter what, whether he's playing or not, because immediately he's pronounced, I want to cover, Chase. You're thinking, okay, good. That'll be a favorable matchup. So here he is against Higgins. Higgins throws him to the ground with a face mask. And you're asking yourself, how on earth did how many officials did they have out there? 6, 7? I mean, how did everybody miss that?
Well, it's funny because for the majority of the game, that play obviously included, it was gang warfare. I mean, there was no penalty. There wasn't a penalty to be called. I think there were 6 in the entire game, and 3 of them were at the end of the game scenario, it seemed
like. A lot unsportsmanlike, too.
Yeah, and a lot of guys going back and forth together, but they were letting those guys play. And that was the perfect example because you could see Ramsey's head get jarred back.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just, on his own. It was helped by the hand of T. Higgins and the face mask. You get no call, but it works out for the Bengals and you get an easy touchdown. And then all of a sudden you don't get another penalty. You get one. I think it was unsportsmanlike conduct, but then all of a sudden it's a couple holding calls and PI in the end zone that gives the Rams extra opportunities and takes some time off the clock in that scenario against Joe Burrow and the Bengals. You get the score by the Rams on the back shoulder throw to Kupp, and you get the sack to end the game. So a lot of penalties in a short time frame. I thought for the majority of the game, guys, they let them play. The officials had their hands in their pockets. They weren't going to the flags, and they just let them play.
That's why it's weird to reverse that at the end of the ball game, because maybe we've been getting away with this stuff the entire game. Now all of a sudden it's a penalty. It's like, wait a minute, where did this come from? But a blatant missed call there that was going to be largely influential. And, and obviously put Cincinnati in a commanding position there as they come back with another 3 points. Before I even got home from watching a halftime show, John Kajemi, I'm driving home, a 5-minute drive. I left, it was like 13-6. I come back, it's 20-13. You're like, what?
Yeah. What happened?
I'm thinking, well, they must have run the kickoff. You know how after you've watched enough sports, you can kind of decipher what happened, even though you didn't see it.
Right.
And I'm thinking they had to run back like the opening kick, either for a score or close enough to score on the next play. I didn't, figure that it was a bomb that was thrown where, they literally got away with murder there. I mean, even Marcia Clark would have been able to get a conviction on that one. But and then, you're thinking, all right, so and then Stafford had to get picked off. Like on the very next series, which he was. Right. And you're like, my God, could a game turn around any more favorably towards the underdog?
That's where I thought Cincinnati, if they had scored 7, I said, man, it might get dicey for the Rams. If the Rams defense can hold Cincinnati now with that sudden change after a back-breaking play on a bomb that should have been called for pass interference offensively, you get the ball with excellent field position. I thought that was probably the most pivotal part of the game. If Joe Burrow and the Bengals go in and score 7 there, man, it gets dicier for the Rams in terms of play calling. It gives the confidence to the Bengals. The defense plays maybe a little bit differently. I thought that scenario right there was huge for the Rams to only allow 3 points.
By the way, too, the face rake was particularly effective in a tag team situation when, like the Iron Sheik would have some nondescript wrestler from the Midwest in a headlock while the ref was looking the other way because action was in the ring. And then, boom, the mysterious face rake. He would whip that out at the last second, and the guy would be like blinded for a long period of time. All right, people around the country, John Kajemi, and good to have you on the program as always. Brought to you by Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill here on Ion Channel. But people around the country will be asking themselves, well, where does my team stand in comparison to the guys that we saw in the championship game? You would think that would be a legitimate barometer of whether or not your team was a possible contender. And I can't help but think that if you're in South Florida like we are, or you're somewhere in the country where you're a Miami Dolphin fan, with all the different changes and the pie in the sky that's coming from Mike McDaniel now, the new head coach, and there's a good vibe, and we're going to talk to each other, and there's not going to be any more acrimony, and we don't have this bitter Brian Flores out there on the field defiantly going on and winning ball games when we want them to lose. I don't know, how far away are they from being either the Bengals, who really, did a nice job, patching up a lot of holes. They didn't fix all of them, but going from where they were at and an injured Joe Burrow to being in the Super Bowl and eyelash of maybe winning it, pretty good. I don't know how the Dolphins compare in that category. It doesn't seem like they've made the same kind of smart moves from the front office. And then, of course, the Rams, I guess, they were all in, and they won't have a first-round pick until 2037. So,
yeah, exactly.
But they won a championship, and most people in sports today would say it was worth it no matter what. We could suck for the next 10 years as a consequence, but it was worth it to win the title.
Well, it is worth it. And the Rams knew exactly what they were doing. They were buying their opportunity to get to a championship and win it. And they felt like they were a couple of players away. They knew they were a quarterback away. They didn't know they were going to get a pass rusher in Von Miller, but or another wide receiver that you could say is your number one wide receiver in OBJ. So I just think that the Rams had a plan. They executed it, and they came within a whisker of losing it, but they found a way to win it. And the two players, Aaron Donald and Matthew Stafford, are game changers. Now, do the Miami Dolphins have a couple of players that are at that caliber? Probably not at those two positions anyway, but they're closer on defense than maybe the Cincinnati Bengals. I think if you put the talent on a whiteboard and you looked at the Miami Dolphins defense and you looked at Cincinnati, you'd probably have more votes for the Dolphins defense and taking that personnel in terms of, hey, we'd rather play with that defense in a Super Bowl and take our chances of winning a football game. Now on offense, obviously they have some issues. They have some issues at quarterback. They had some issues at running back that were rectified later in the year. They obviously have some problems on the offensive line when you have a Dolphins 6th or 7th round draft choice get cut and he starts in the Super Bowl for the Cincinnati Bengals and doesn't do that. It wasn't that egregious that you noticed him on every play. And you have some issues at wide receiver. So I'd say the Dolphins have a long way to go on one side of the football and not so far and pretty much on par with teams that could win a Super Bowl on the defensive side.
Wow, a couple of moves, and think about it. Had they had the foresight instead of taking Tua to take Justin Herbert, which obviously that makes Lubie cringe that I even bring that up. 1 year, and then the next year, had they just stayed in a position to take Jamar Chase, can you imagine what kind of a dynamite combination? This would be Marino to the Marx Brothers all over again. All wrapped up into one.
If you stay there, let alone let the quarterback decision go, because I think, there was a lot of people that, hey, Tua's a winner, Tua play, he's kind of come back from injury, he's going to be okay, until you saw Justin Herbert turn into, like Superman for the Chargers. I think if they stand pat at 3 and take Chase, and then they get Harris at 18 or 19, wherever they were at, who was going to be there, you've instantly taken 2 players from the draft that when you put them on your roster become the best players at that position on your football team. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to use the draft and free agency to pick guys that all of a sudden either it's an argument about that could be the best player at offensive guard or tackle or defensive end. But in this case, in the draft, they would have been the best wide receiver and the best running back on the football team. That's how you improve your football team.
Well, and that's where front office ingenuity comes in. And unfortunately, I don't know that we've seen a lavish amount of that on the part of the Miami Dolphins over the last couple of decades, which, leads, again, to question about, okay, I mean, we just had this new coach hiring, and the guy seems to be, a guy that says all the right things. I'd like to believe that most people, if they live their lives by Mike McDaniel's philosophies, they'd probably be living a pretty good life, much like you are, John Kajemi, a man of principle and a man of honor and integrity and all of this. It's fantastic and seems to be innovative. I would have to agree that if he was involved in the running concepts of the San Francisco 49ers, it looked pretty good to me, man. I'm seeing tackles going straight across the line of scrimmage and coming out on the other side like they were, Jerry Kramer from the guard position, leading, Fuzzy and the boys on a sweep.
Right.
So, no, it seemed pretty good. But, I mean, an organization can't afford to make these kind of blunders consistently. Where I'm just looking at 2 moves there, and you just brilliantly analyzed that they could have even gone with another scenario and improved themselves, and yet they did none of that, and they ended up with a quarterback that they still, as you said, have questions about, and really no running game to speak of, and of course, the same problems that plagued them all the time with the offensive line, and even though they got Waddle, excellent player. He's not Jamar Chase, as Lubie said earlier, and doesn't appear like he's going to be, I mean, I can't knock Waddle. I mean, the guy caught more passes than anybody else this year. He was great, right?
Yeah, he was sensational for what the Dolphins asked of him. I think he was far exceeded what we thought he was going to do in his rookie season. But when you take a look at the way the Dolphins played offense, it was almost small ball compared to everywhere else where you saw more explosive plays. You saw plays going for touchdowns where Waddle would have 10 catches for 79 yards. And you're kind of going, okay, we struggled to back people off the line of scrimmage. We struggled to threaten people down the field or across the field. And I'm not so sure if it was scheme or personnel, or you just put, guys in positions not to succeed. You're trying to get your scheme to let others thrive. Well, you had injuries at wide receiver on the outside of Jalen Waddle. You didn't have consistency there. You didn't have consistency in the running game or at offensive line to the point where you felt like you were going to be able to take over a game, at a certain point, or at quarterback. Tua, for as well as he played in stretches for the Miami Dolphins last year, he went through a period where he would throw 2 or 3 passes that you'd go, wow, that came out of nowhere. It was either a pick or a poor, incompletion to extend a drive, or missing a big play potentially for points. More about the one bad ball for an interception that would kind of put a lull in the game. And it happened early in the year. And I think Tua overcame that as the season grew on, because the team got better, I think, around him. But there was a point in that, I guess it was 1-7 stretch, that you could count on one play going, where did that come from? And I think those are the things that he did improve on later in the year, but it held the team back, and it added to, didn't directly lead to, but added to them struggling on offense.
The fabled bozo play. I mean, you look for, I don't know how many you can afford a game. If it's over a hook, it's usually bad in terms of the result. And Tua was certainly guilty of that. Hey, did you have a guy during your quarterbacking days at any time that could just, you would automatically call the fly pattern, man? Because that was supposed to be Waddle, but you love that too, where the quarterback and the guy says, "Look, just throw it early." Because whether he was on the outside or the inside, you know what? I'm going to go get it. You throw it as far as you can, John Jimmy. Did you have that guy, the luxury of having that kind of receiver at any time in your career?
Well, there was a guy named Rocket Ishmael that outrun a lot of arms, and mine was probably one of them.
Wow.
Yeah, you could actually just say, well, Rocket, just take off, and you had to make sure you got it on time. You had to make sure you had enough air on it and just throw it as far as you could, because he was going to track it down.
You played with Rocket Ishmael? Why do
in Toronto. Yeah.
How did we miss it? Oh, I was thinking, well, wait a minute, Pittsburgh, Rocket Ishmael. He's a Notre Dame guy, right?
Right.
But okay, so now where was he at? How come? Had he been in the NFL for a while, and now
no?
later?
He actually went to the CFL first, and then he went back to the NFL.
Okay,
yes, I remembered him in the NFL, so I didn't realize.
Yes.
First, okay.
All right, and the Rocket, just by the very nature of it, what was the play call? Rocket, and that was like a fly pattern, right down
Rocket,
left side or right side.
Rocket had a tendency to not be at a lot of offensive meetings because he was doing things for the team. He had a lot of PR stuff. So walk in late. He was a great guy, great teammate, but he had a lot of pressure on him because they signed him to a big contract. He was the star of the team, so he was always doing things. Yeah. So, you'd call a play in the huddle, and then you'd tell Rocket kind of what to do, but you didn't have to tell him. He knew the play that the green bulb would, light up. He'd say, this is my, 9 route. This is my go pattern. So you call that play, and you just make sure you threw it out with enough air and try to get around him, because he was going to track it down.
I always like when a pro athlete, especially late in his career, maybe gets a chance to shrug off a label. As much as people didn't like Barry Bonds' personality, great player, and, he had the label as choker in the postseason, but he had a very limited sample. And then once he was on the juice and he had a chance to, get some more at-bats, he shattered records, and, people cowered in fear every time he stepped to the plate. Stafford, and I had the pleasure of meeting a guy, very humble guy, when he was coming into the league, John Kajemi, and I've been telling his story, kind of leading up to the Super Bowl, because I met him after he was drafted number 1 overall on a radio row at whatever the subsequent Super Bowl was, and I remember being impressed by him. It's not like he said anything. It wasn't like, some acerbic, comment, guy that was going to have you cracking up and in stitches with stories, but just came across as a really decent person and a guy that was probably going to be successful, even though I wasn't as overwhelmed with his possibilities of being a top-notch quarterback. Where was he? Georgia he came out of?
Right.
Yeah, and, I don't know. Number 1 quarterback, if it's Peyton Manning or something, you're thinking, that's probably going to work out, or Andrew Luck. But I wasn't sure about this guy. And yet it was nice to see him distinguish himself and shrug off that tag of being a guy that couldn't get the job done with a great final drive. That was the thing. A beauty was like 112 plays. 75 yards. Kupp is triple covered on every play, and he still throws a bunch of strikes in there. Really little hesitation on his part to do what he needed to, and with no running game, which was another shocker in that Super Bowl. That would you ever have imagined that the Rams would get stuffed on every run, John and Jimmy?
No, not the way the Rams ran the football, not only in the playoffs, but throughout the season. That was a big part of their game, being able to have some balance, or at least when you needed to run the football or you had a lead and you wanted to exhaust some minutes off the clock, the Rams are going to be able to do that. And it seemed like the Rams, for most of the playoffs, when they ran the football, they put themselves in second and short. They were winning on first down because of the run game. And I thought their offensive line, for some reason, it didn't look like there was a whole lot of space out there. In big games, especially a Super Bowl and playoffs, man, those guys get after it, especially the defensive fronts. They're faster. Everything moves so much quicker at the line of scrimmage. And it looked like that took over the game on both sides. Both defensive fronts really did a nice job of moving the offense backwards. And I think that hurt the Rams because they were relying on running the football. And it also helped Matthew Stafford, not only throughout the regular season, but in the playoffs, take some pressure off of the passing game. It didn't make him 3rd and 11, 3rd and 9, a lot of those situations that you're in. And to your point, I thought Matthew Stafford, for being in purgatory, or if not hell, for most of his career in Detroit, being around guys that all of a sudden now it's like you have freedom. You've got a innovative play caller. You're on a team with a number one defense. You've got the best player on the defense in terms of getting after the passer and stopping the run, and Aaron Donald. You add Von Miller to that, and you've got weapons by yourself on the offensive side. I mean, that's a team that's loaded. And I don't know if they're going to be able to keep everybody, but Matthew Stafford sure took advantage of his opportunity. He's always had a strong arm. He's always been a tough guy. He seems like he's always been able to hang in the pocket and make plays, but it really came full circle for him when he got his opportunity to be on a better team. And I think Sean McVay and that organization knew they were a quarterback away. They just didn't know they were getting A-plus players along with their quarterback to help them to a world championship.
Came through a couple of times there in the clutch. Of course, that final drive there to win the Super Bowl, and then with those two pass plays that he had against Tampa Bay in I guess would have been the semifinal round or quarterfinals. But with a little time left on the clock, and he throws a couple of strikes there. Cooper Kupp, pretty amazing. This guy, very humble, Cooper Kupp, and isn't the type to be, doing a lot of self-aggrandizing gestures and things of that nature. But what a Fred Biletnikoff tough SOB this guy is. And he wins the Super Bowl MVP to the delight of many who took a shot. And I think we're getting $750 to 1, plus $750 on that. So $100 got you $750 if you had Kupp as the game MVP, which, that final drive was Chuck Mersine-like, the way that he dominated every positive play. It was incredible, and they had nowhere else to go.
And they moved him around everywhere you could possibly put him because, you have injury at wide receiver. He can play inside. He can play outside. That winning play is probably designed for Odell Beckham.
Yeah.
On a fade route, and they move him to the outside, and he's got the wherewithal and the smarts and the technique and to be able to catch the football in a tight, situation. He did everything perfectly and left some room for that back shoulder throw, and it was plenty of room for Stafford to fit it in.
Well, that 4th and 1 on the Jets sweep went like
what a play!
That play was great.
Entire game, they're like, we're giving it to him. There's no way Kupp's not getting one. He got like 6 on like a jet sweep on 4th and 1. It was like
and he had a knife through 2 defenders on. He had to run that perfectly.
Yes.
Because if he's undisciplined and he cuts it up too soon or he strings it out too far, that's a loss. That's a tackle for a loss, and the ball's going the other way, and the game's probably done. Clever
ball handling in there, John Kajemi, by Matthew Stafford on that particular play. I saw a young John Kajemi handing off to some monster running back at St. Thomas on that one. I mean, and it was well disguised. And you're right. He makes a brilliant cut upfield at precisely the right moment, slicing between the two guys who appeared to have him collared.
Yep.
And as you said, there was going to be tagged for a loss, and the whole game swings in a different direction then, because you would have to think Cincinnati at that stage finds a way to ultimately
close it
prevail.
out.
Yeah,
That's right.
and that was right around a 30-yard line or something. I
Yeah,
mean,
it
wasn't it
was.
pretty deep in their own? I mean, it was Andy Reid City. You're done if you don't make it.
Yes.
Yeah,
So,
I had a couple cocktails by that time. And I saw the logo on the field, and I turned to my son. I said, "Well, at least they're at the 50-yard line." He goes, "Dad, what game you watching? They're on their own 30-yard line."
Yeah.
I said, "Yeah, you're right."
So gutsy call there, and a gutsy play call. I mean, people like to get on McVay for getting too cute, but wow, I mean, and well executed there. And I was happy for Stafford because as I said, I was impressed with him. One time I met him, he came around. He was very humble on his radio row. Had no entourage, no publicity person around him. He just sat down at the table and said, "You're with whatever station I was at the time." Yeah. Okay, good. I'm here. And it was very cool. So it was nice to see. And you always hate that when a guy gets labeled as a loser in the postseason. And, and he hadn't won a postseason game, correct? I think he never won a
playoffs, never.
Playoff game with Detroit, even though they had some good teams while he was there. It wasn't a total atrocity. He had some offensive firepower with him at different times, and looked like they were going to go somewhere, but they never did. So nice to see him distinguish himself in that fashion. All right, more with John and Jimmy. Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. Are you on it with Tommy Fox? What's going on? I haven't had
Tommy's all
any
over
info on this thing about going down there and doing a show.
I spoke with the guys. They're excited to have us, and it's all about just getting it on the calendar right now, because I can't wait to go. Can you imagine the scene at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill? There was a huge wedding over the weekend. They had fans at the sports bar. They had a unbelievable crowd this weekend. And we know by just going down there, the minute you get to Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, you kind of just kick back and relax and let the food come to you, right? You were talking about the Fisherman's Pizza earlier. I can't wait to go back. Every time you say it, Defo, it makes me want to grab my keys, get in the car, and drive down and have Dom fire up one of those for us, because it's a special place.
No, just absolutely great. I mean, the atmosphere is fantastic. Now, I was saying to Lubie that I would be inclined. The remodeled sports bar is fantastic there, but I like hanging out at the Tiki Bar, maybe a little grilled mahi sandwich. Yeah. Although, I'm thinking those nachos would have been great. The Italian Fisherman, or any of the pizzas that they have there. And, of course, all kinds of different opportunities to have things that just literally came right out of the ocean there, like seconds before they were served to you.
It's fun because you can go in blindfolded, just point to the menu, and wherever your finger ends up, you're going to have something pretty good. And like you said, the Tiki Bar atmosphere outside with the weather we're having in South Florida, other than the rain a couple of days ago, but it's been just spectacular down there. And it's an hour from Fort Lauderdale, hour and 15 minutes. So Miami's even closer, so people can go down and enjoy their weekend and get down there for dinner during the week. It's just a spectacular place to be.
I bet Larry Calvano, the owner there, I bet he had money on Cincinnati. This guy seems like a winner. Right? He was getting 4 points. You saw that guy miss the extra point there, or, the botched hold. And people, imagine that would have changed so much, John.
It did.
There were billions of dollars wagered on this game with the spread at 4 points. Would have been push city. So
it seems like people take that for granted, that aspect of the game. A bad snap or a bad hold, or it's always about the kick, but they don't understand the mechanism and how repetitive that becomes. I think Tony Romo made reference to it last week. He said a certain somebody didn't handle the snap, and he was talking about himself in that game. I think it was against Seattle, maybe in his career. But that happens. That's a tough one.
Did you ever have a play like that haunted you in your career? I mean, that play literally, you could tell it.
I wish it was
Tony
just
Romo
one.
To this day.
I wish it was just one.
You might have been a candidate for the Hall of Fame. All right, we'll come back. We'll talk about that a little bit with John Kajemi at State Line Dolphins. Of course, our man Zach Thomas denied. We had some theories about Hall of Fame stature and credentials and the criteria for getting in and out. That's always open to discussion when somebody gets jobbed like that. Or, there are always players that people come back and go, yeah, well, if Urlacher's in there, what the hell did he ever do? So we'll get into that with John Kajemi here in just a moment on the Defo Show. Jeff Deforrest, Mike Lubitz with you. Eye on Channel, and back with more on what was that? Super Bowl 56? Was that 56 already?
Yes, that was
56. Wow.
Yes.
I've been around a long time. I think I had tickets for Super Bowl one. All right, back with more in a moment. Now that
The time.
might have been at Super Bowl. It's 8:41.
Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. You're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. Good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at Marker 4, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing taking sun views. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Any time of year, things can more business, and the insurance company can be your friend, but they also can be your enemy. Horizon Public Adjusters, Justina Testa, are here for you to help this process go so much easier. 7 to 10 times more money recovered with a public adjuster than if you went on your own. If there's no recovery, there's no fee. Before you call your insurance company, call Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa at 954-809-8752.
John Congemi. Now, did you scale it back when you were head-to-head with Danny there at Augusta National? Because, he doesn't like to lose.
Actually, guys, you're right. Dan doesn't like to lose in anything. And the only time I was ever able to go to Augusta, I think the Samsung guy backed out, and Danny asked me about 11:30 at night, and I put on my shoes and went to bed. And I woke up and went to Augusta, made a hole-in-one on the 16th hole, and Dan said he hit a better shot than me, so he took the tee on 17. So I let him do that. I didn't want to get
stepped in front of you after a hole-in-one.
When you add it up, I flew up on a private jet. I was going to eat for free. I played the golf course. I figured he deserves the tee on 17.
I mean, the audacity just to cut right in front of you after a hole-in-one.
Buenos dias. The cafecito is piping hot. Why not enjoy it with Defo and Lubie? It's now time for the Defo Show.
As you might imagine, and welcome back to the show, it's State Line Dolphins with John Congemi on the Defo Show. Jeff Deforrest, Mike Lubitz here on on Channel. Being the solid family man and the solid family that the Congemis are, John Congemi probably is not inclined to completely bungle Valentine's Day. As well, you were kind
You'd
of
be surprised, Defo. You'd
really?
be very surprised.
No way.
I could. Yeah. Well, there has been a year that it's been kind of sideways, but not.
She won't let it go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes you know how that just kind of gets thrown out there.
I fucked up once.
30 years later, like
that's me.
I don't know. Yeah, no, I have somewhat of a an ugly history with this particular day, and I'll see how I get out of it today. I'm not sure. The plastic flowers didn't go over real big, and I told her, what's great about them? I can give them right back to you next year.
That's right.
And this way, I can never forget again. I mean, I just go into the closet, blow the dust off these things, and give them to you, and you should be happy. Lubie is in a Svengali relationship with his wife Shirley, where he is the one being Svengali'd, so he doesn't have to worry about a thing. She's taking care of everything. So that's
awesome.
But anyway, I keep seeing these reminders, and I'm thinking, how am I going to blow it this year? I'm sure I'll find a way.
Find a way. That's right.
All right. The Hall of Fame inductees were decided. Of course, I'm sure, like many people in the community, you've had experiences with Zach Thomas. Wonderful person, a great guy. I mean, you talk about looking at a guy whose stature didn't imply that he was going to be a standout middle linebacker in the NFL for a long period of time, consistently leading his team and being among the league leaders in tackles. sideline to sideline. He can actually do it all. He was effective on blitzes. He'll get to the quarterback. He'd pick off a pass every now and then, and you say, "Run, Zach, run!" And he looked like Fred Flintstone out there on the field, and yet somehow got it done. Not blinding speed. Didn't have like an overwhelming athletic look, but nonetheless, what was a physical specimen, and still is to this day. But A, what do you think about the fact that he wasn't a Hall of Fame member coming in with the new class? And B, do you buy our theory that when a guy's retired for 5 years, there should be one vote and one vote only, whether they're in the Hall of Fame or not, and not subject these guys to like an annual attrition where their chances are lessened as more people are eligible? And obviously interest in them fades a little bit. In my opinion, you're either a Hall of Famer or you're not. You should be able to decide it right away. What do you think about any of that?
Well, in terms of Zach Thomas, he is a Hall of Famer right away. I mean, all you have to do is listen to the people that played with him and played against him. And Zach's argument is kind of settled. You can talk to coaches, you can talk to former players, you can talk to opponents, and they would point to Zach Thomas being a Hall of Famer, whether that's 5 years after he played, 10 years after he played, immediately after he played. And the attributes that throw it over the top are what you talked about. Zach has been just a quality person, ever since the day you met him. He's a gentleman. He's a great guy. He's the ultimate hard worker. He's the overachiever. And he turned that overachievement, in my opinion, into a Hall of Fame career just by watching him play and the things that he did on the field. He didn't have to be the talker. He didn't have to be a guy that was so boisterous after he made a play. All you had to do was watch and go, who's 54? 54 made another play, or it's another interception, or it's another tackle for loss, or it's another fourth or third down stop, or it's another guy pointing out where the play is going to go before the ball snapped, because he was that adept to his play study and knowing what opposing offenses wanted to do in certain situations. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't other guys that are as deserving or even maybe more deserving than Zach Thomas, but there's no way that you can go and put a Hall of Fame together, watch a guy play for his career, wait 5 years and go, that guy's not a Hall of Famer. I don't know. I just think they're missing the boat on this one.
Should be able to know. We've seen a couple of guys, actually. We watched them annually tortured and tormented by the idea that they weren't getting accepted into the Hall of Fame or getting enough votes, and their time was running out. We saw it with Jerry Kramer. We saw it with also Kuchenberg of the Miami Dolphins. I mean, they just tortured this poor man to his grave, practically, about getting into the Hall of Fame. So I don't know. The guy, he's no more of a Hall of Famer next year than he would have been this year, in my opinion.
No.
And that's why I think they ought to just have a decisive vote. And if they let more people in, that's fine. I mean, I don't care if they have a class of 30 going in. I mean, it's just, if a guy's a Hall of Famer and has Hall of Fame stature, he should. People always scream about somebody that's in there, with a receiver. It was always Lynn Swann is in there. And why not Mark Duper, who had far more statistical accomplishment and maybe overall more impact on, Dolphin, chances than Swan did with the Pittsburgh Steelers. But Sam Mills was the guy Lubie was screaming about on this one. And then everybody brings up Urlacher in the Zach Thomas argument.
Well, I mean, you can have an argument with both of those guys that you mentioned, and you can have, positional arguments. Why is another wide receiver? Why is another defensive end? Or why is another offensive lineman? I go back to, I think, your original statement, Defo, about you should know right away whether this guy is a Hall of Famer or he's not a Hall of Famer, or he's right on the borderline. There's guys that kind of go in and out because of, in my opinion, because of who else he's listed with, or he's compiled with for that particular year. So in Zach's instance, 15 years ago or 10 years ago when he retired, he might have had a better chance in 2013 than 2015 because the class, and some might say, well, it's a little bit weaker, or maybe it wasn't just over the top guys that were first ballot Hall of Famers. Well, maybe Zach Thomas isn't a first ballot Hall of Famer, but he is a Hall of Famer by his numbers, by his play. And I think it gets diluted because every year you're going to have more people that are added to the list. And to your point, how many do you pick? How many can you pick to fit in that year? And I think Zach gets kind of that torment and that torture and that, I guess it's slant against him because, you have a dynamic wide receiver that, had huge numbers, or now it's a return guy that you have to get a specialist in this year, or you have to get another offensive lineman, or quarterbacks come up, in succession because they all retired at the same time. It's going to be tougher and tougher as the years go on, but it doesn't take away from the fact that Zach is a Hall of Famer and he should be in the Hall of Fame.
I would imagine you accompanied Dan Marino to his Hall of Fame induction.
Yes, he invited us.
Yes,
we went up there. Yes.
All right. Okay. So what goes on there, John Jimmy? I mean, what kind of parties? Was it anything like that rapper party where a couple of guys got shot in Los Angeles before the Super Bowl?
No.
Including the guy that was having sex at the Panther Arena. This guy's having a wild year, isn't he?
Yeah, he's having a big time this year.
Klondike Bar or whatever his name is.
Kodiak
Jack or whatever.
Kodak Black.
He answers to all three of those names.
Klondike Bar.
Klondike
Sorry,
Bar,
no, I don't know. I was going to ask you. I mean, were you able to mouth along to any of the words of the halftime show? I know Lubie probably was able to, and I found myself like getting excited to see Eminem pop up there in the middle of the whole thing.
Yeah, it was okay. I was all right. I didn't overly enjoy it. I would prefer actually songs that I can maybe read back to you. Like I had no idea what was going on, but I liked the beat of everything, and everything was pretty cool. I always go back to like the Prince halftime show. I like those types of shows.
Oh, that was a classic. Yeah,
you kind of get into that, but that was fine. I'm sure everybody the reviews were probably more positive than negative. I'm not sure, but have was half and half in our household, I guess.
Yeah, I enjoyed what I saw of it. I wasn't able to really capture the full essence of it because I was in a bar. Naturally, you'll find that a little surprising, but no, we were having a good time. And the big debate was, do we leave right after the last play of the first half and try to get home to see the halftime show because it's going to take them a few minutes to set this thing up.
15 minutes.
Or do we watch it here? Maybe a little better sound system, right? You're in a big bar, a sports bar, and yet I wasn't able to really capture the full essence of it to say. But what I saw seemed to be enjoyable. People, they made a good representation. They didn't have to put a blindfold and give Roger Goodell the last drag of his cigarette, as he was sitting with Russell Wilson trying to promote the idea of diversity in the NFL with Jay-Z saying, yeah, these are my boys. And you thought, wow, any minute now they're going to pull their pants down and, start cursing, and using all kinds of, racial, what would be considered racial slurs about their own people. And you're like, not that, that they're separate from any other people, but just, that the N-word is frequently used. And my man Phil Mushnick in the Post is always saying, I would defy Roger Goodell to read the lyrics to any Snoop Dogg song to his children and say, listen, little Johnny Goodell.
Yeah. That would go
This
over
is
well.
what you should be thinking. Yes. So anyway, I thought it was okay. And that was an aspect of the...
Yeah, it was fine. It was fine.
All right. Did the best team of the season in the NFL win the Super Bowl this year, in your opinion? Did the overall best team, were the Rams this year? I know they won the championship, but if you could have another roster, is there another one you would rather have than the LA Rams, and maybe with a couple of breaks here and there, like the Buffalo Bills might be an example?
Yeah.
Maybe they win it all.
I would say they're right up there. You can make an argument that they did have the best roster in terms of personnel. I would put Buffalo or put Kansas City, or I put Tampa Bay kind of in that realm. Any one of those teams that go through the gauntlet, that you're sitting there in the finale, you're at the Super Bowl. I think any one of those four teams that I just talked about could be Super Bowl champions. You go, yeah, they had the best team this year. So I don't know if it's one team stronger on defense, one team had a better kicking game, one team had better quarterback. I think you could go into that and dilute it that way in terms of, they're better than this team. But I think the Rams, for argument's sake, you could say you go position by position, they're pretty strong. They're tough. They're a tough out. That's for sure.
All right, the Kansas City Chiefs installed as the favorite to win the Super Bowl championship next year. Are you buying that the Chiefs will be back in the mix there, or did you see enough flaws in the Chiefs' ability to perform under pressure that and we saw Patrick Mahomes. You mentioned the bozo play, and Tua always being guilty of one in that 7-game losing stretch. Mahomes was starting to become a guy that was exhibiting a disturbing penchant for making the bozo play. Are they, in your opinion, the best team going into next season? Or obviously, I mean, the easy way out of that one is too early to tell. We know that, but would you have installed them as the favorites to win the championship next year?
Them or Buffalo, I would say. I would say Kansas City only because they're a little bit more explosive on offense. I think Josh Allen kind of uses his legs a little bit more in terms of past the line of scrimmage of running the football and being a part of calling quarterback runs, where Mahomes does his movements most of the time behind the line of scrimmage and buying himself some time to make plays. I would say that the thing that held Kansas City back was, some of those plays didn't work out the way they had over the past couple of years when they were going through that lull in the beginning of the year. Then they got on fire a little bit. Defense started playing better. Mahomes protected the football a little bit more like Patrick Mahomes, and they got on track. And when they do get on track, you have to score in the 30s to beat them, which is very difficult to do. And you have to have the football last, because if Mahomes has it, they're going to win. And that's the belief that he's been able to portray and kind of sink into that Kansas City fiber in terms of they know if they have the ball last, they're going to win. And that's the thing that keeps that team, I think, on top.
Parity was so much on display this year, right down to the wire here in the championship game. You could look at a handful of teams in the National Football League and say, yes, all in with a legitimate chance. You're thinking, too, that Cincinnati obviously can't be discounted again.
Yeah.
They were in the Super Bowl. The Rams may lose their coach and Aaron Donald if speculation, which is a little bit wild, I think, when it comes to McVay. But some are saying that he might even, opt for retirement and a spot in a broadcast booth.
Well,
after this year.
Everybody's making so much money now. Guys can retire after 5-6 years. After
yeah.
that, next contract like Aaron Donald got, he's got more money than his kids and their kids are going to be able to spend. So it really probably doesn't matter. The same thing with McVay. He could go into the booth a couple years, get rejuvenated, spend some time with his kids. When they're 3 and 4 and they're going, he's got to either take up golf or he's got to go back to coach. So he's got to get out of the house. So he's probably, goes back to coaching after that. So it's just those guys never really get out of it. And I think when they spend a little time at home, they want to get back in it just to have, they miss it. That's all they've done, all their lives. So I think that gene, that bug never leaves those coaches.
Well, and you become a much better coach while you're in a broadcast booth. As you saw with John Gruden, his stock rose while he was talking about banana wide right. And Bill Cowher, still was mentioned. He probably got a couple of interview inquiries about whether or not he wanted to get back in a game because his name always pops up there whenever there's a coaching vacancy. All right, what do you have on tap? Can you reveal the secrets of Valentine's Day? I don't know if the wife checks out the show, John.
No, just a simple gift. The acknowledgement of that I remembered is usually over the top. That he's actually not. He didn't have that many concussions that he was able to remember Valentine's Day. I remember birthday, Valentine's Day, anniversary. I'm good for the year.
Nice.
Okay, good. That's nice. I'm going to bag the plastic flowers concept. I don't know if that's going to go over real big. And I used to be inclined to go, buy some like cheap costume jewelry and try to pass it off as something that actually had some value. But
well, if you just hold it in a certain way, Defo, it increases in value, right? Oh, look at this! Oh my God!
Yeah. Meanwhile, you're plunking down $28 on some cubic zirconium, at the gas station where they were also selling the camouflage hats. Yeah. All right, John. Always a pleasure, my friend. Thanks so much. I thought it was a great NFL season. I really enjoyed it right up to the last minute. And I think a lot of football fans did as well. We saw why the NFL is the king of all worlds, because they could do whatever they want. And they had the world literally as their oyster yesterday tuned into this football game, which delivered on the entertainment quotient to more than you could have asked for, and it was a great year. So it was great having you on. We'll have all kinds of dissection of what's happening during the off season as well. I'll be down there at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill sometime in the next few weeks. John, always a pleasure, my friend. Happy Valentine's Day from everybody here at the show, and best of luck in your venture to try and make sure that she's happy at the end of it.
Same to you guys. Had a great season and look forward to continuing.
All right.
That's money.
Thanks so much. John Kajemi, ladies and gentlemen. All right, when do we move on from Super Bowl talk? I mean, I think we pretty much, buried every aspect of that thing today, no?
Ish.
Tomorrow?
I would say today into tomorrow, and then we full force into basketball. Then I guess the next month the draft, I guess. I don't know.
The draft. Wow. Okay. People used to dread that. And now it's, a major event. Can you imagine Mel Kiper? He was screaming from the sidelines there. Hey, please put me on. I know something. Gargling with mousse so his hair could stand up like that, which is fading a little bit too. And I speaking of McVay, right? Oh, it's McShay. Todd McShay, man, has put like years on Kiper's life, has he not?
Yes, he has.
I mean, he has aged rapidly as this young gun was sniping, much like Lubie has been in the background here on the show and is emerging as a major star.
There you go.
I don't know, how many offers did you have to deflect for your own show already, Lubie? It's crazy.
A ton. I said, look,
ever since you've been doing
despite
this.
what Defo says, I am loyal, and I'm here with him to see how far we can go. And it's nice to see some people have found us this morning, too, some new people.
Oh, no, it's good, man. And thank you for the participation on the chat line. It's always great. We love you, Big Possum, and all of the fans out there. Thanks so much for tuning in. Peel yourself off the mat Monday. I feel pretty good about life going forward here without the National Football League. We'll have, what is that, rhythm dancing. We'll have in-depth analysis on the ice rhythm dancing from the Olympic Games.
We'll do some Olympics.
Not a lot of steam about the Olympic Games. I enjoy it. I really do. I actually, I'll watch anything. And I kind of like it because I can't do it, right? I said, you don't see anybody from the Israeli team on the men's giant slalom. Is it that Jewish people like me are not good at balance sports? What do you think?
I'm not even touching that.
Jewish ballerinas? You see?
I'm sure they exist.
Come, my little princess. We have practice today. All right. I sound like Bella Caroli. All right. I better get out of here before I get into jackpot. Jack Namer, thanks. I think, you know what? I haven't heard from him. And I think he's negotiating right now with the NFL.
There you go.
Right? Ion Channel on the NFL, right? Well, he's already got his announcing team. You and me. Can you imagine?
I'm ready.
Doing Thursday Night Football. We don't even need $18 million a year. We'll do it for less.
Yeah, a lot less.
I'll do 8 ball games a year for less than $18 million, wouldn't you?
100%. I'll do 16.
They could offer us a bird cage with full of feathers, and we'd take it. Oh, that'll be your compensation. Oh, that's fine. All right. I'm such a dog and negotiator. All right. We'll see you tomorrow at 7 in the a.m. on the East Coast. It was great being with you. Jeff Deforrest, Mike Lubie, Lubitz. Catch us later on. 5 Reasons Sports Network replays the show. And also the Believe Podcast Network later on. That's BLEAV. And we'll have our own analysis coming up there later on the Super Bowl as well. We'll see you tomorrow right here on Ion Channel, where we love to be. And that'll happen at 7 a.m. Eastern Time. Tell your friends, Google the Defo Show, and you can catch all of the shows that we've done, DEFO. And the archive is, starting to have a little bit of volume to it. So very happy about that. All right, we'll see you tomorrow at 7 in the a.m. as we leave you know that.
The time.
It's 9:02.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.